like I've said this many times, but one of the big political reckonings that we're just going to have to deal with is the acknowledgement that our enemies are, by and large, at the very least, like supported by a mass of low IQ, proudly ignorant, borderline illiterate, dumb fucks, right? Like genuinely, you can't get past that. It's just like, it's considered rude to say, but like this is the case historically. Like what if there was a political disagreement back in the 1930s, back when not as many Americans were literate, don't you think it would be relevant to bring up to a party supported overwhelmingly by literate people that if the other side is overwhelmingly supported by illiterate people, that might be something you have to factor in with your rhetoric? We should acknowledge the fact they are stupid, you know? A lot of them aren't even that hateful. Like, it's crazy, but a lot of them just aren't. They're just really fucking vulnerable to misinformation, you know? Isn't this literally something Marx talked about? Yep. I love it when people on social media are like, Marx never considered that uneducated, illiterate proletarians might prefer satiating meaningless cultural issues over class solidarity. And it's like, man, that's like the main fucking thing he talked about, dude. That was like 90%. Outside of the economic analysis, that was like the main thing he was talking about. You said Nazis don't believe in the rhetoric. Why is there a correlation to the right wing and school shooters? Nazis don't believe in the ideology of Nazism overwhelmingly, because there's a lot to that ideology. What they believe in are a set of core emotional principles that allow them to use tribalism to reorient their thinking and blame people for their problems in life. Nazism is like an easy one they all fall into because it is very hateful, very emotionally satisfying to the people who fall into it, and it has like a bunch of pre-existing conspiracies that can explain why everything isn't going your way. It's like the path of least resistance for a lot of these people. But that doesn't make them like ideological adherents. If you take the average fascist, they're just emotionally motivated. You can't sit them down and have them defend the principles of fascism. They wouldn't even know what you're talking about, you know? Isn't Nick Fuentes having that same realization lately that he's surrounded by retards? Yeah, Nick Fuentes himself isn't stupid. He's like hateful and a bad person. He's not stupid. He's not low IQ. And it probably like annoys him a little bit that what he wants to do is have a lucrative career based off of hatred that he can then leverage into a cosmopolitan lifestyle of gay sex and like gender cosplay, right? But in reality, the way he makes his money forces him to be associated with a massive orbit of obscenely hateful, low IQ, embarrassing retards, right? He wants to be able to separate himself from that. But the problem is you can only do that if you're like a genteel Southern politician, right? You can go preach to the hateful crowds and then go back to your plantation home, have a mint julep, and enjoy, you know, classical opera yourself. You can hang out in your own crowds. But as a live streamer, you can't do that. Unfortunately, as a live streamer, if you are farming your support off of hateful morons, you have to be adjacent to those hateful morons 24/7, at least while you're doing your work. You can't distance yourself from it. You're not like an old-timey politician. Does that make sense? That's why he's like that. But he doesn't want to engage with that, because who would? God, can you imagine? Can you imagine being in a social environment where all of your fucking friends and associates are like groypers? Oh my God. Like, just beyond the ethics of it, it would be fucking annoying. That's why so many of these school shooters are right-wing. They're socially dysfunctional, you know?